Alright, this is the Hot Glass Show at the Corning Museum of Glass, and now I'll turn it over.
My name's Lewis Olson. This is Chris Rochelle. Chris is searching our vast repertoire of colours for creative ideas.
He's the creative
And it looks like it's coming to him in the form of green. Although it looks like sort of white is the colour of the day, Chris. That's white, yeah. That's liquid sunshine falling out there. All right, we're going to get started in just a minute here. Chris, see, he's thrown a little white in there, thinking that this snow might turn to green spring look or something, maybe. I'm ready for spring. How about you guys? Yeah, you too? Yeah. I like it when it's a little warmer. I think that's why I blow glass, because I can huddle around the furnace. So Chris has just put some pipes up in our warmer. We preheat the pipes, preheat them up to about 1100, 1200 degrees. The glass doesn't stick unless the pipe's hot. So Chris is going to dip in there. You can see that bright orange glow. The glass is going to look just like it. At 2100 degrees when the glass comes out, it's going to glow. Pretty much everything is going to radiate the same light at 2100 degrees. I'm coming out on the flip side first to see what they look like from this side. Just the same. There it is. So Chris is going to roll in some frit. This is crushed up colored glass, especially made for what we're doing. It's not an easy thing actually to make concentrated color like this, because you're trying to dissolve a lot more of the element. So in this particular color here, it's fluorine, which is making it opaque, and it's chromium and copper that's making the green shade. Chromium is a very strong colorant, very toxic to work with, carcinogenic. So we don't melt any colors here ourselves from raw materials. Once they're encapsulated in a glass like this, they're very safe to work with. In their raw state, or most likely they use this material was probably potassium dichromate they used to add to the glass. So the glass in its raw state looks like this white powder down in here. And the basic formula is silica sand, which is really common. There's silica everywhere, but very pure silica for glass making is a little harder to find. But you could take like kids' play sand, that'd be a high percentage of silica, probably 98% or so. And you could take some baking soda from your house, and you could take some Tums. You know what Tums are? The add acids. Now if you mix them up in the right proportions, probably about 70% silica, maybe 18% sodium, and about 12% calcium, you could make a pretty good glass like that. Early glass formulas, they didn't understand what the elements were, and it's interesting reading early formulas. A lot of them talk about places. You know, they might say, oh, the hillside south of Rome, you know, that material, and that might have been dolomitic limestone that they got out of there. And they might have talked about, we bring the sands in from the coast of Syria, or the coast of Egypt. So they would talk about locations, and I'm sure it didn't take long to figure out when they got a material from a certain place if the glass was stable or not. I've actually taken early glass formulas and taken analysis and made those glasses, and it's quite interesting reading some of the early analysis, because if they had a stable glass, it was still around today. If they didn't have a stable glass, it fell apart before it ever got to the museum here. So Chris has started that out, blown it, got a little bubble there. But he doesn't have much glass. If he wants to make a bigger piece, he has to build it up in layers because it's so liquidous. So he's going to go back to the furnace and dip in there and add about 3 times the amount of glass. One of the great things about this material is it has this long viscosity curve. So from that 2100 degrees down to about 1350, 1400 is really our working range in terms of pliability, but we'll actually take it down to about 1000 where it is now. What's nice is it doesn't conduct heat that well, so it can stick that bubble back in there and it doesn't completely melt instantly. If it was a really good conductor, it would be molten already, and he would have lost control because the outside would be so liquidous. But because it has that great long range, he's able to come out here and start to use this wooden spoon, we call this blocking the glass, and he's actually getting it nice and even around the bubble, but he's also skinning up the surface a little bit. So the outside layer is just thickening just that little bit, and it gives him enough control that by the time that inner bubble, which is about now, it's completely soft in there. Chris makes this very deceiving too. If you just watch his left hand, just constantly fluidly moving that pipe, it's very, very deceiving. When somebody does this well, it just looks like, oh, it's as easy as walking. Well, it is to Chris because he's been walking for 14 years now with this material. So it's very easy for him. Somebody who's first starting out, it's incredibly difficult. I find it amusing when somebody will say to Chris or I don't know how you get so much done with one heat. Well, we work the glass so hot compared with a beginner because our control is so much better that we can do 3 times the amount of work that somebody could do, you know, with 10 minutes of working, because we get so good at the control. And that's what's deceiving about it. So Chris has gone back, got a little bit of a heat, he's using that pad to shape up. Now he's going to start that blowing process. And Chris is utilizing every bit of heat in this. The only reason he touches it a little bit, the shape there, is to take heat out if he wants to cool it a little bit. And he's going to draw a neck out on this vessel. This is very difficult to do this. And this is a great example of what I'm talking about. This glass wants to flop all over the place. And if you watch really, really closely, what he's doing is, when he goes back that way, it's just rising up, then he flips it over and brings it back the other way. He's constantly watching the edge of that. Now, if you watch somebody, just let it flop just a little bit first. Let him see. He says, I can't do it. Actually, on a piece like this, he does. He wants to keep it really, really straight. Chris and I both like to do this technique of drawing out a neck because you really have to stay totally focused on the end of the glass all the time. So he's got this beautiful neck. Now he could make this into a picture, he could make it into a vase, he can blow this out into so many shapes. He can make this bulbous, and he could sink it back flat, he could blow it out and make a really long amphora shape, classical Greek form, maybe not even put a base on it, just put 2 handles so it's ready to hang on the hooks with some olive oil in it. Be perfect, right? Romans invented glass blowing. And it's amazing when you look at some of the pieces in the museum, how they were able to mass produce with wood-fired furnaces. Working out of a wood-fired furnace is really pretty amazing. Chris and I have both done it, and I've worked with glasses, same glass formula they used 2,500 years ago. And it's amazing how well that glass works. Not much different in the material that we're using. As I said earlier, they didn't necessarily know what they were putting in the glass in terms of elements. So you can see Chris just heated up that end. He's puffing this out, expanding that, and he blows a little and he takes a look to see where it's blowing, because it's not completely even in wall thickness or in temperature. Because the hottest area is at the back of the oven. When he heats in there, that means that that bottom section is going to get the hottest. So he's sort of taking a look at that, seeing how it's going to blow. Now he's going to heat the bottom of this and elongate it. So he's going to kind of, you're going for that amphora sort of look. Chris, you're going to, yeah. So he's going to lengthen this out. I love this form. It's a lot of fun to do. Heat the bottom shape a little bit, elongate it. So he's focusing the heat just on the end. But all the time he's working on this, he's still thinking about that magical sort of 1,000 degrees. I got to keep the neck hot, got to keep it hot right next to where it sticks onto the pipe. We call that little bit of glass that's on the pipe, we call that the moil. And that's usually the area that's going to crack first, because the metal and the glass are contracting at 2 different rates. And at some point, if we just leave them sit, I'll play catch over here with you. I trust you. Isn't that amazing how quickly it changed the shape? That's what I was talking about in terms of utilizing temperature control. Little white foot.
You should tell him so. Yes, this is the best glass blower.
Okay, Chris wants me to take a little glass here and make. Do you want it solid or blown? Solid, okay. He wants me to get a little glass, make this white. So he wants to put a white foot on this. Great detail. I'm going to get a little glass, or maybe a lot of glass. You can really see how runny this is as I'm turning it. See how it's starting to round up? Let that round up a little bit. And then I'm just going to start dabbing it in this color. I can't really touch down and roll on it because it's so soft, it'll just squish it in. So what I do is sort of gently touch it on there. Just like you put your sprinkles on your ice cream, you know? What I'm doing is I'm trying to set this glass up so it's going to be the right shape for Chris to apply. When you work as a team, I know what he wants to do with this. I could be making the same piece and I want him to bring me a nice piece, so I got to kind of trade off and I got to be nice to him occasionally. So I'm trying to get this nice and round. Chris wants this to teardrop off the end of this. So when he's ready, he'll stand up. And I'll come over with this. And I'm just going to bring it over, let it kind of teardrop a little bit before I get it to it. And then he'll let it drop, touch it on, cut what he needs. And then he's going to go back to the bench. Just take his time, straighten that up a little bit. Probably have me hold this wooden paddle on the other side of that when he wants to squeeze it out a little bit. So I'm just going to push gently. If Chris wants more pressure, he'll just ask me to apply more pressure. Yep. You see those flames?
Yeah.
That was just Chris's showmanship. You want a button on that? So we're going to just shape it one more time now. I asked Chris if he wants a button on there. Because we put that white glass on there, it's very soft, that glass. It kind of has a low surface tension. So we're going to put a tiny little bit of clear over top of that because we're actually going to attach another pipe to that end in just a minute so we can finish the top of this vessel.
Yeah.
And if we put it right onto the white, because of that low surface tension, it's easy for that pipe with the leverage to pull it right off there. Such a deal you have for me. Are these all the winning tickets? Just some of the winners. Okay, ready, Chris? I'll give it to you right off on the eye. So by putting that little bit of clear on there, it gets a wider surface area for this pipe to contact to. So the next step is we're going to put this pipe right onto the bottom. But we'll join it on much, much colder than you've seen us put that on or the foot itself. It's really common for handmade pieces like this to be change the access or change the pipe back and forth and finish them. Sometimes on like sculptured pieces, you might change back and forth 2 or 3 times, depending on what you're doing and the shape you're doing. So we're going to attach this to the bottom. And Chris has made a little restriction right up the top of this vessel. And we'll break it free at that point. What do you guys think? You like the white and green?
Yeah.
Whenever you see anything like this...
Sorry about that. We had a
museum,
battery
you know
failure,
for sure
so
that it was handmade.
we're back.
You want to share, Chris? No, I guess I can do that for you. So what I'm doing is, you can see I cut that to a nice point, so Chris can just touch this down and draw right from that point a nice thin line of glass out of here. So what he'll do is probably put his tool across the bench to stop it rolling down, and then he can vary the thickness of this just by where he touches on, how fast he turns, how fast he pulls me away from the vessel itself. He'll touch on. Didn't stick. So it's really important for both pieces to be hot enough. The neck of his vessel or the tip of this is a little bit too cold, it won't fuse. And we want them hot enough that when you apply them and go back to the heat, that rapid temperature change doesn't cause it to pop off the vessel. You can see he touches that on, starts to draw it out. This is testing his winding skills here. Say crank, 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 crank. He's going to have finger cramp here winding like this. Right to the end, snip that little bit off. Normally when we're doing something like this, we normally have a set of rollers to spin it in. So it's quite tough on the fingers after you get to the end of that. You have to keep the same pace going. If you slow down at all, then it starts to thicken up. So Chris has gone back in. He immediately wants to soak in some heat to that, kind of make sure it's completely fused to the surface. Sometimes we'll take a decorative pattern like this and put that, spin it around the body of a vessel, and then you can just take the tweezers while it's still hot and pop lines off. So you can have a few lines and stop, a few lines and stop. So if you put it on just at the right temperature, it's barely fused, you can pop it off there again. So just this wrapping technique, walking through the museum, you can see all sorts of ways that they've changed patterns like this. If you walk through, you'll see some that zigzag. They'll spin it around and then heat it and push the lines up and down, and you'll get a zigzag pattern. If you look at some of the early Egyptian pieces that weren't blown, they were made over top of a clay form. They actually did that pattern on the outside. So Chris is going to take a pair of shears here, and this is really cool to watch. He's going to cut down the side, around the corner, and back up again. Nothing to it. Easy. Especially when I'm watching. So that's a picture cut there. So really difficult to get that cut just right. He made that look really, really easy. And timing is really, really important there. If he waits too long, this is already set up. And so when he's going around that corner, if he's waited too long and he squeezes, it's going to crack right across it. Okay. You want just a regular round one? So Chris said he'd like to put a white handle on this. A medium rare, huh? Okay. We can do that. So handles are difficult. Got to have just the right temperature, the right shape. You can see Chris has put the final touches to that spout shape shear that wants to make sure it's nice and smooth. And he'll go back and get his final heat set up. He wants his vessel to be hot enough that when we apply the handle, he's got enough time to shape it without the vessel dropping below that 1,000 degrees I was talking about earlier. So everything's related to that when we're working. It's related to making sure you keep the vessel hot enough at all times. So he comes back out, and he'll just do his final straightening. I'll bring this over to him. He'll get ready. Chris will stick it on there. He'll draw up, and he kind of takes a look to see how it's running, cuts in a little bit. He's going to change shears to cut a little point. You notice how quickly he flipped that over? If he hadn't, it would have flopped right onto the vessel and stuck on. Still really, really pliable. That was easy, wasn't it? It makes it look really easy. Push that handle up. Because this is the hottest thing on the vessel, when he goes back in to reheat, it'll still be the hottest when he comes out. So he can make a few more adjustments, but he's probably only going to get one more heat like that, and that's this one. By the time he gets to the next one, he'll barely be able to make any changes without heating the rest of the vessel. It's all kind of going to stabilize to that same temperature. The only way you could really change it then would be to take that little torch and to try and spot heat it, which really doesn't work that well. We mostly use the torch for just spot heating, like a little sharp edge like you did on the front of this, or to fire polish the bottom where the pipe comes off. It's going to look fantastic on my coffee table, Chris. What do you guys think? You like it?
Yeah.
Nice piece, huh? It's a lot of fun for us because we get to make whatever we want. So it keeps it really creative. And Chris and I always, when we work together, we like to try different things. See what we can squeeze in the time allotted.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next step is get it off the pipe, get it into the oven before it reaches that critical temperature again. So that's why Chris did that quick little reheat. He's right back here, put some water on there, just pop that off into the tool, and then he'll only take about 10 seconds here to fire polish that, not even that, and I'll take it and get it in the oven. And we'll set this oven tonight. It'll cool down over about 12 hours. Tomorrow morning we get to take another look. Christopher Shell, everybody. Great job. Well, that's our hot glass show. Now it's time to, what is it we're going to do? Huh? Oh, I almost forgot. Yeah. I don't know about that. I guess we could do that. Should we start with the winners or the losers?
So let's see who
That
you
would be
trust.
sad, wouldn't it? When I pull out the losing ticket, you have to slowly walk out the door. All right, we won't do that. Doesn't sound like very fun. It's much more fun just to start with the winners. Okay, Chris, would you pull a winner out of here? Oh, that was a pretty good job. You got one. All right. Somebody was asking me earlier to start with a 5. Last 3 digits on your ticket. 5, 1, 8. There, we have a winner.
Can I go with this one? Dan knows his class. Congratulations. Thank you. You got it? Yep.
I will do one more.
13.
One more. Because these guys have been so nice to us. All right. Shall I take the winner out this time? All right.
Oh, it's not right here.
5. Everybody still in?
Yeah.
1. Everybody still in? 9. 5, 1, 9.
It's me, but go on to somebody else.
Oh, all right, thank you. Okay. How about 507? Wow, that was pretty close to your number, wasn't it?
Maybe I'd like
That was fun.
the red one, please.
Excellent choice. Well, that's our hot glass show, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed doing it for you. Enjoy your day here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Stop back and see us again, okay?
That's it.